Well, hello there. My name is Mark Miles, and I love helping trainers, presenters, workshop facilitators, and even keynote speakers really take their results to the next level. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about the topic of stage fright, the topic of anxiety, the topic of nervousness before you present on stage, or before you run a workshop, or before you do a presentation. Now, I have to say that this is the second biggest question that I get asked about and in part of my coaching and part of my training that I deliver to clients. And basically, the question is, how do I get over my fear of public speaking? Or how do I get over my nervousness around public speaking? And essentially, I've done a number of videos around this topic, but I just wanted to do a video that really surmised the core concepts so that you could watch this video and really put some plans into action to really conquer your fear of public speaking and to really get over the hurdles that you may be experiencing in regards to showing up and really operating at your best as a public speaker or presenter. So there's a couple of things that we need to get very clear in our minds if we are going to make that transition into being a professional public speaker or professional, workshop facilitator, and in the areas of getting over our nerves, right? So highly recommend that you grab a pen and get ready to write, because I'm going to go through quite a few things in this video. So first thing, I want to share with you 3 empowering beliefs that you can adopt that are really going to help you out in this area of public speaking. All right. So the first one. Now, I actually learned these public speaking beliefs back in 2009. I actually went to a public speaking course. Went for about 9 days straight. And the presenter at the time shared these beliefs on the second or the third day. And these beliefs have really helped me in in my areas of public speaking, because when I first started out in high school and operating in my career, I hated public speaking with a passion. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but I really hated it. So these beliefs that I'm about to go through really helped me out with them. So number one was there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a perfect presentation. There is no such thing as a perfect presentation, only the presentation that comes from the heart. Because what we know is that words from the heart will land on the heart. Words from the heart land on the heart, but words from the head will fall dead. And it was a great little catchphrase that was shared with me, and it really impacted me that ultimately on stage, whenever you're performing or standing up delivering your message, the more it comes from the heart, the more you're actually going to connect with your audience. And the more scripted it is, the less you're going to connect with the audience, right? So number 2 is every presentation is practice for the next. Every presentation is practice for the next. Every presentation is practice for the next. So every time you're presenting, you're actually making it better and better and better for the next time and the next time and the next time. And having this mindset in place allows you to go, I will always be able to chase a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. But there's no such thing as perfection. Doesn't exist. So why worry about trying to get to it? All right. So second one, every presentation is practice for the next one. And the one that you did last time, you're practicing for this time. And that's totally cool. Now, the third belief around public speaking that will really help you out is the belief of the following. The more I present, the more confident I get. The more I present, the more confident I get. Now, I love this belief because instead of running away from public speaking, it allows you to go, okay, cool. Let me seek out opportunity to actually get better. So if you go to a networking event or if you go to, a kind of seminar or anything, and there's an opportunity to speak from the mic as an audience member, take it. All right. Take any and every opportunity you can and seek out those opportunities as a public speaker, because the idea is the more you do it, the more you're actually going to get better, which is really cool. So I want to suggest that you lock in those 3 core beliefs. Number 1, no such thing as a perfect presentation, only the one that comes from the heart. All right. Second, every presentation is practice for the next. Every workshop you run is practice for the next. And third of all, the third one is ultimately the more you present, the more confident you get. All right. So now let's go into the next stage. All right. So we want to get over our nervousness around public speaking. what we need to accept, first of all, is that you will always be nervous. Sorry, that body reaction, that little hit of adrenaline, that's always going to be there because the chemical neurology in your brain, I don't know the fancy words for it, but I know for a fact that every time you find yourself in a new environment and you're speaking to a new audience, it could be the same topic, but to a new audience, you are going to have that chemical reaction in your body because you are in a new, unfamiliar environment. And ultimately, you need to accept that that little bit of adrenaline is always going to be there. All right. Whenever you go into a new environment, your body's going to be a little bit on edge because it's in a state of little bit of stepping outside the comfort zone. All right. So anytime you're speaking to a new audience, it's an unfamiliar environment. So your body's going to react as it always would if it's put into a little bit of an extreme situation there. So accept the adrenaline will always be there. And one of my great mentors, he said, instead of calling it nervousness, call it expansion. Because we know scientifically and also experience wise, every time we present, our identity gets a little bit bigger and a little bit more expanded. So he calls it expansion, which is a really cool thing. So, number one, expect that's going to happen. Expect you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable and those butterflies are going to happen. But what we want to do is make sure that we don't get to a stage where we lose all the saliva in our mouth or we get so many butterflies that we just can't talk at all, or we feel sick in the stomach and we need to go vomit, all that kind of stuff, right? So we want to get to a stage where we accept the butterflies, but we go, all right, cool. It's not going to disable me and make me unable to actually talk on stage, if that makes sense, right? So we need to accept that it's always going to be here. Next, we need to rehearse. Yes, I said it. There's the one word you do not want to hear because you think that you can just plan your session, stand up and deliver it and just why bother rehearsing? I don't need to practice it. Of course, I'm just going to plan it, stand up, do it and see what happens. But here's the thing, folks. We know that professional speakers, professional presenters, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, the Steve Jobs of the world, they were able to stand up and deliver keynote presentations without notes. But strangely, they made it so effortless, they made it so natural, and they looked as if they hadn't practiced. But here's the thing, professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. Amateurs practice till they get it right. And normally they get it right once or twice, and they stop practicing. For professionals, even comedians and stand-up comics or actors, they practice it, rehearse it so many times that they can't get it wrong. And that level of rehearsal is often the key ingredient to getting over the nerves because you're like, okay, I've practiced it so many times. I know what I'm doing. I'm good to go, right? And when I say rehearse, I mean, if you got a keynote coming up for 1 hour, you should be doubling that, if not tripling that, if not 10xing it. So if you got a 1 hour presentation, I'd expect you to be rehearsing it 10 times from start to finish. And that practice, that drilling of the actual presentation is what helps you get over your nerves, right? Now, whether you take that on board, whether you do 1 hour rehearsal at least, or 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 5 hours, it's up to you. It comes back to how good do you want to get? How good do you want to get? And if you want to become a really professional, excellent, top class presenter from stage, I really recommend that you think about that 10x principle and really think about, if I want to get good at this, I need to do the rehearsal, right? Or even if you're running a training session or a workshop, you should be rehearsing. What are you saying? When are you saying it? And going through your key points and really knowing what's coming next, what are you going to say, and how are you going to say it, right? Rehearsal, 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 rehearse, right? Okay, but I know for a fact most of you won't impress me. Maybe you do. I don't know. But I know for a fact, I did a keynote presentation a few years ago. It was a 90-minute presentation, and I practiced a minimum, I think it was in total about 60 hours I did for that presentation, right? So I really want to get my rehearsal solid and squared away, right? Next thing, if you choose not to do the rehearsal, that's cool, but let's now take a different path, a different direction, and let's again go back to the mindset side of things, right? So mindset. As a presenter, trainer, facilitator, you're going to go through 3 stages just before you present. And stage 1 is you are just about to get up on stage and you're feeling nervous, right? And the reason you're feeling nervous is probably because you're in stage 1, which is focus on you. And you're going to be thinking, what will the audience think about my hair? What will the audience think about what I'm wearing? What will the audience think about me? Do I have credibility? Do I have the expertise? What will they think of me before I get up there? What will they think of me as I'm presenting? And you will be thinking, what do they think about me, right? So stage 1, you are focused on you. Now, after you get over yourself, you eventually get to stage 2. Now, stage 2 is my content. What will they think of my content? And what am I going to say here, there? What am I going to say there? And do I say this there? When do I say my story? And you're going to be focused on your content, right? You're going to be wondering, what is the best way to deliver the message? Then eventually you get to stage 3. Now, stage 3 is where all the power is and all the, optimal skills and knowledge and really authenticity and influence comes from. Stage 3 is you are focused on the audience. You're focused on them. You're focused on their needs, their wants, their desires, their problems, and potentially problems that they don't even know they've got, right? And what we need to be able to do, if you want to conquer your stage fright, or if you want to get over your nervousness, you need to be able to get from stage 1, focus on yourself, to stage 3 as quickly as possible. And what I want to do is share with you a powerful question that you can write down that'll quickly take you from stage 1 to stage 3. And I've used this question a number of times to get myself out of a stage fright situation or a bit of nervousness. And this question, super powerful, and I highly recommend that you grab a pen and write this down because it will transform everything in regards to your mindset. So the question is the following. I highly recommend you grab a pen and write this down. The question is the following. What is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest challenge or consequence that this audience will face if they don't hear and act on my message that I'm going to share with them right now? I'll say it again. What is the biggest challenge or consequence that this audience will face if they don't hear and act on the message I'm about to share with them right now? Now, it's a really powerful question because essentially it allows you to go very quickly from stage 1, focused on you, to focused on your audience. And many years ago, I was invited to do a keynote presentation on mental health and well-being to a large group of very successful business owners on the Gold Coast. And for me, I was a little bit hesitant. I was a little bit, and now I'm going to be honest, I was sitting in the car and I was sweating bullets. I was so nervous, thinking, I don't have the right to go in there and speak to them. I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not as successful as them. But I then kicked myself into gear. I'm like, no, I got to use what I actually teach. So I sat there and actually answered that question. What is the biggest challenge or consequence this audience will face if they don't hear and act on the message I'm about to share with them right now? And I literally sat there and I sat in my car and I wrote out all the things. I wrote, they're going to get stressed. They're going to get sick. Their health will decline. Their relationships will suffer. Their business may not be as productive as it could be or potential. They will have all of these things that will potentially go wrong if they don't get this area of mental health and well-being sorted in their lives. And in actual fact, I came up with a list of around 22 problems and solutions and potential consequences they were going to experience if they didn't hear my message. And in that moment, I was reminded that, as Marianne Williamson says, in the space of service, it's impossible to be nervous. And in that moment, I realized I'm going to go help these people. I'm going to go and enter that room and be of service to that audience. And it really reminded me that ultimately, if you want to get over your nervousness, You have to step back and go, it's not about me. It's all about them and how they need to hear it so that they can go off and achieve it. And the it is whatever they really want out of their lives and what's possible for them. So ultimately, if we really start to, I guess, percolate on these thoughts and, really reflect on these empowering beliefs, no such thing as perfect presentation. Everything needs to come from the heart. Every presentation is practice for the next. Third one, every time you present, you're going to get better. Every time you public speak, your confidence is going to grow. Accept that the nervousness is going to happen in the body. Be okay with that. Expect it. And start to label it as expansion, not contraction. Expansion, not contraction. Do the rehearsal so that you know what to say, when to say it, and where you're going to stand on stage or where you're going to stand when you deliver your message online. Then start to think about, all right, those 3 stages. Stage 1, focus on self. Stage 2, focus on your content, making sure that's just right, perfect, right? Yes, that's important to do, but if you get tied up in the content, you're going to disconnect with your audience. Third, ask yourself, where's the biggest challenge or consequence this audience will face today, and here and act on my message going forward right now. And yes, I know it can sound a little bit negative, but it's going to be the fastest way to take you and your mindset into the heart space of going in there and helping them. Yes, there is a positive version as well, such as what are the benefits and what are the great things that are kind of happen for the audience if they hear on my message and they go and act on it. Absolutely, you can use that version as well, but I would say it's not as powerful as the negative version or the consequences version that I've given you there as well. So, folks, those are some ideas, those are some ways to think about presenting and how you can get ultimately over your nerves and conquer stage fright. And just know it will happen. Just know it's normal. And it's normal because you care about your audience. And the more you care and the more you really want to connect, the more it's going to happen for you. But when you reframe it and you use some of the things I've shared in this video, the more you're like, yeah, cool, it's normal. And let me go out and seek more opportunities to get standing on stage and delivering my message. Because the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Just one of those things in life, right? Awesome, folks. Hope you got some value from the video. As always, like, comment, share, and let's get this message out there. And let's help all of you who may be a little bit hesitant to shine on stage and be the very best you can and really have that influence that you want to have. Let's get you guys out there really conquering your fear of speaking on stage and public speaking. Thanks, team. We'll see you on the next one.